I will definitely go ahead and take, the heavy lifting with the fathers, and you record. You're doing amazing. Like, we gotta talk after this show. This is
Yeah,
like some magic right here.
there you go. You know what? We make it happen, right? When there's we're using this technology in the best ways possible. We're celebrating dads. We're talking about daddy's issues, and guess what? This is also for the entire family. This is just not mano space. This is a space for, women, children, where they can come and ask real dads about real questions and real issues. And we're not going to just give you the PC response, And when you talk about dads, you talk about complexity. You talk about a wide range of ideas and perspectives and ways to deal with certain things. And we learn from each other. So this is also about building community as well as building capacity, and also building a stronger sense that daddies do matter. It's all in the title. And I love the title. Brenda came up. This is actually Brenda Brown's creation. And so we're just so delighted to kind of connect and create synergy with each other so that we're able to, bring a lot of dads together, and we get a chance to chop it up and have the women in the house as well. So I know Lakota's going to join us in a few. I know definitely Jacqueline Banner is going to join us, as well as Kathleen Blanco should be joining us in a second, because although we do celebrate dads, we don't mind hearing from the ladies. We don't get shy. No, I don't.
Well, what I like to do is I like to hear from everyone. And because we have a short amount of time to get so many fatherhood opinions, because I want to flood the internet with different versions of opinions from different directions of fatherhood, white, black, and different, in the middle, polka dot, I don't care. You are included if you're able to make a little one, because the important part is the little one. And I am one of those little ones that, if not for her daddy, it could have went way bad. It could have went way, way bad. So if you
Yeah.
enjoy what comes out of fatherhood, know that I'm a product of it. William, I want to hear a little bit from William. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am doing well. Are you camera shy today? Do we just get the picture?
Now, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not computer literate.
That's okay. Listen, there's some little dots up in your right hand corner. Yep, there you go. Hey, welcome to the screen, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, looking good, Dad, in the house. Tell us about your daddom.
Dad is married.
Well, come to the camera. Tell her. Well,
I'm listening to you.
hey,
That's
you
my
go.
wife.
That's your wife. Tell us about his daddom.
Tell I said hello and
Well,
welcome.
I was just letting y'all know out there, because that Dad is married, but he can sell his own self.
Well, daddies matter too. So tell us about your daddom.
Well, my daughter was interviewed the other night. Her name is Karis Wadey. She is.
Oh.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
Karis dad. Yeah.
yeah. This Karis is dad.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the screen. I love her.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she's brilliant. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you talk about the importance of father. I'm quite sure that you had a lot to do with who she is and where she's at and the way she thinks. And she has a brilliant mind. She is a real creative and really an emerging voice in the space of filmmaking. And I think that whatever success she has, she deserves to lay that right at the feet of dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said that before now, but yeah, it's been rough. I was just doing what I had to do. But I see that she learned along the way. She took a bunch of stuff from me. So
Beautiful.
she get the creative part from me pretty much.
Yeah. And it's so important.
Wait.
Energy, and that's what this show's about.
you are breaking up, Tylon. Just
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit. Ralph, tell us about your daddom.
My dad?
Yes.
Oh, my dad is so awesome. He like taught me the best. I'm still learning things from his age right now because um he taught me how to, Christian wise, how to live life. And I've seen so many examples from him, and that's how like I'm becoming so successful now because he taught me how to know God. And I just witnessed something that happened to him. May 23rd, he received a kidney transplant,
Wow.
and
Oh,
he almost died. He almost died 2 years ago from kidney
Oh my
failure,
goodness.
and
wow.
from like so many things. Like he taught me Christ and how the example of Christ went through him to get to me. And
Oh, wow.
my
Well,
dad, he used to be a police officer before he got sick. He used to be a
Hmm.
sergeant for Phoenix Police. And
wow.
so he made sure that he kept me and my brother straight. And I'm very glad, that he did so well. I actually wrote a song called uh my the greatest father officially. And I wrote a song just because of him.
Well,
Wow.
maybe you can hum a few bars for us, right,
Yeah,
Tylon?
that's right. We would love to hear it. Or some of
Okay.
it or a piece of it. Will you perform some of it for us? If not the whole thing?
Well, I don't have the beat yet. It's still ongoing, but I can give you some lyrics. I can give you
Give
some
us
lyrics
some
on it.
Yeah.
lyrics. Break it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Woo!
You get to hear it first on Daddies Matter
Daddies
Too.
matter too. Break it down, Ralph Williams.
One moment. Give me a second to get to it. 1 second.
Okay, and while he looks it up, hey, Dr. Ron is in the house. What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, good night. Good night. Welcome
Ah!
in. Good night, everybody. Hey, how y'all
Yeah.
doing?
Oh my God.
Tyler, you in the car? You driving tonight?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you
I'm
trying to
on
be like
I'm
you
on
trying to be
daddy
like
duty.
me?
I gotta bring her back to Connecticut. So it's
Oh,
like a 2.5 hour ride,
I
from
know.
where I live and where her mom lives, where she lives with her mom. And so,
Okay.
I had her for 2 weeks, which was a lot of fun. It's a blast. And then I have her for 2 more weeks in August. So this is
Ah,
like nothing but good times. I
yeah.
always feel like, to be honest, men are at their best when they're with their daughters.
Oh, I
That's true. I believe that. I believe that 100%. I think that dads are at their best when they're with their kids in general,
Yep.
but especially when they're with their daughters because they now have to um, be the gentleman that they may not been when they're just being a man.
Yeah.
absolutely Ron Christian. Dr. Ron in the house. Thanks for being here, sir, and thanks for busting me out on GoPro Radio.
Whoa. Wait, what happened?
Revolutionary Party. Yeah, he laughed when we were talking about Oprah. So it made me feel like my dad was around once again because he used to call me to the carpet for everything. So welcome and thank you for, yeah, being around, being that fatherhood figure. I learned a
Well,
lot of things from you.
yeah. Well, let's get into it. I mean, we have 3 topics to talk about. One of the things that we want to talk about today is, and I hope I'm not breaking up. If I am, just let me know and I'll stop. But we're going to talk about child support. And is it appropriate to tell your children about child support, how much it is and all that? And then we're going to talk a little bit about Bill Cosby again because he's suing Philadelphia. I don't know if you guys agree with that or you support that or not, but that's going to be part of the conversation. And then we're also going to, delve just a little bit. We're going to touch on this whole issue of like, what do you call that, co-parenting and what that means and some of the challenges as well as some of the really good habits and good techniques that I know through Dr. Ron's services. And Dr. Ron, please, I have a lot of people inboxing me and they're asking me, well, what Ron's organization. Can you please tell us a little bit more about the incredible work that you're doing
Oh yeah.
in terms of boots on the ground all over?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, definitely it's incredible work, and here's I'll save this till later. I'm not going to say this. We do incredible work here at Fatherhood Mentorship. We will be having I'm going to send this one. So if people really want to see what we do and how it operates, we have a graduation coming up August 1st.
All right.
So definitely that graduation will be on virtual. So it will be live on Facebook. So if people want to tune in and watch it, they can see what happens and how this app actually operates for the fathers. But what we do is we do a 12-week. First it starts 12 week, do a 12-week educational program using curriculum from the Fatherhood Initiative, 24/7 Dad curriculum. And then what the main focus is being able to have this conversation like we're having, have all the dads come as we talk about the curriculum, being able to do that curriculum, and then really address what dads are going through firsthand, not us telling them what they should be going through and what should be happening, but having our dads and our mentor dads all there to kind of be able to first validate. First thing we want to do is be able to validate what a dad is saying, because many times when anybody's dealing with somebody, they're not validating them. They're just saying, oh, well, what did you do to cause that? And that turns into what I call victim blaming at some point. You're blaming them for what's happening to them instead of validating what's happening to them.
Right.
And then being able to show them how important fatherhood is to not just themselves, but to our community overall. Being able to, work within the system of supporting, having support from peers, because that's a big thing. And then recognizing the importance that each father brings to fatherhood in itself, because that's the most important. That once we normalize it, because if you ask a dad, he'll assume that he's facing his issues all by himself. No one else
Absolutely.
is facing what he's facing. And it's not until you come into a setting of dads from all races, all cultures, all socioeconomic statuses, that you find out we have so much more in common when you're dads than we do as men. Because men do a lot of separating. You're this, you're
Right.
this, you're that. But when you're dad, you're dad. Everyone knows what it means to be a dad, and we have that common bond a lot of times through being a
Right.
father of children
And
and our legacy.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Dr. Ron, can you speak a little bit about the stigma that I think that has been created, where we don't necessarily feel like on these levels.
Well, okay, so since he's breaking up, I'm going to like just jump right in here, because I would like to talk about the 3 topics that we kind of all agreed on the last episode, which is toxic masculinity. I'd like to browse backwards. So, Tylon, are you there?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me
Oh,
now. Can you hear me now? No? No good?
so
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to kind of take over from here, fellas. Yeah, we wanted to fast forward toxic masculinity. Let's jump into that, because I would like to know what it means, because I get the word thrown at me a whole lot. So, Ralph, have you heard this statement before in your world?
Toxic masculinity. No, but it sounds like something that's like a card, like not like a black card, but it's a masculinity card. That something like the topic sound like something like that?
Okay, let me get a explanation. Dr. Ron, have you heard this word tossed around? And how does it affect fatherhood? Because I know it affects me in my fatherhood, because I'm always super ready to talk about my dad and talk about the amazing man he was. And I find myself getting jumped on, but for those memories and and that kind of thing.
Right. So, I mean, I think one of the things when we think about toxic masculinity, I think this is a new term that has come up. It used to be, the idea of misogynistic used to be the word people use. And I think they stopped using, and I think this new generation, when it came with the idea of the Me Too movement, and also the idea of, they needed another term to really, really pinpoint that it was the men who was doing something wrong. So toxic masculinity came about. But I think a problem with toxic masculinity that occurs is that it attacks, we talk a patriarchy. Patriarchy is attacked, and it's here's the part where problem it comes is that patriarchy is closely connected to toxic masculinity, and people talk a lot about, and as I hear what toxic masculinity is and how it operates, and it's based on us having a patriarchy society. And one of the things I've argued with a lot of people is that in mainly largely in a large majority of the black communities don't have patriarchy, patriarchy society. We have matriarch societies. And a lot of people be like, no, 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 check. Go and look at the home. You have a mother, you always have big mama, and you have great great grandmother. Not
Absolutely.
all of them home, many of our homes don't have pop, grandpop, or great
Pop,
grandpop.
pop. No, no
We don't
kinds
have.
of pops.
So when you saying that, hey, in the black community, patriarchy is an issue, I argue that I challenge you on that because I say that many of our families have been conditioned to be matriarchs, not patriarchs. You-
Holy crap. Hi, Kathleen Blanco. She's entered. Dr. Ron, I am going to lean very heavily on you because your words of wisdom is going to help us figure it out. Because they've been waving this in front of my face every time I want to have a great memory with my dad. I have to deal with toxic masculinity. That is not how it goes. And you should be okay with everything. And I'm like, but that's not how I was raised. And why should I get beat up for that? William, do you think toxic masculinity has had an effect on fatherhood for you?
Uh, I would say a little bit because y'all just described what it was. So I'm sitting here thinking back, and I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe that's what it was. And so I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah, a little bit, but I couldn't really go back and tell you when it,
What
made me feel some.
specifically it was?
Yeah, what specifically it was, but
so
that
so
sounded
so
like
so William, why would you say yeah if you don't know what it was? Listen, this is one of our this is what we fall victim. You say you don't know what it is, but you agree that you would be it. Have you ever been abusive to your children?
oh no, no, no.
Okay,
So is that what it
because a
is?
part of toxic masculinity is that you're abusive to your children,
Oh
you're
nah,
abusive
then
to your
that's not
wife,
nah, then
you
that's not.
you demand complete control over everything that happens in the family. You run everything. There's no one who
Oh
can
no.
take. It's like being addicted. And so this is sometimes what the problem is. We hear words like this, and then we agree, even though we don't know what it is. And then they say,
Yeah,
"See, this man said he was toxic in his life, and he had never been toxic."
yeah.
Right.
But they use a
Well, I
word like
think
that to describe these
yeah.
activities and then make it seem like it's us who are doing it. No, I didn't come up with that. I take care of my kids. I support my wife. I respect my wife. I don't cheat on my wife. I don't cheat on my partners. I'm upstand. I work every day. I do these things. But I am also the man of my house. And I do say these are the things as the father of the house, as the lead, that must happen. I'm not doing it with brutality. I'm doing it with love.
Stand
Yeah.
up, Dr. Ron,
Oh,
stand up.
Thank you,
So
Ron. I
that is
appreciate
why
that, man.
we come here is to so that you guys can dispel the rumors to each other. If you know what it means, pass it along to another dad or another person because I'm getting tired of getting beat up on for my memories. Kathleen Blanco, welcome to the screen. Now, I rarely get to see your face, so I'm taking advantage of all that it is. Do you think in your point of view, now this is totally up to you, that toxic masculinity has a bearing on fatherhood these days?
Can you repeat the last part of the question? The toxic masculinity has what?
Has a bearing on fatherhood these days? A negative connotation, a negative impact, the words just themselves.
Yes, yes. I think that well, I can attest because I grow up in a very Spanish household, and it is very common to see the woman have more of a say than the actual man. Women, no offense to the women, to my Dominican women, Puerto Rican women, but a lot of women tend to minimize or not give enough respect or credit to the men who are actually trying to raise the children. Just because there's a lot of BS always spoken about men who are always trying to feel a sense of power. I don't know if that answers the question.
Amen, girl.
But,
Amen.
you know, that is something that I see that it's very old habits die hard, right? Old habits die hard. And I think that a lot of the undoing that has to be done has to not only take place educationally, like within being re-educated, but also within the home. A lot of this stuff starts from home. And if we are teaching the kids from home how to not have like toxic masculinity do, I think it will kind of change in how the how the children will have like their own relationships.
Absolutely. See, that's what it's all about, all the different points of view, because Dr. Ron, I dig your answer. That's from the clinical standpoint. So I love the passion to tell us how it is. Yes,
Can you guys
Tylon?
hear me now?
I can indeed. Yes, sir.
Okay, if I just start breaking up, Brenda, just interrupt and stop, because I know how this can really be disruptive to the whole recording. But I just want to say, just the mere fact that we're talking about a word called toxic masculinity. I mean, there is toxic relationships,
Right.
but to be connected to masculinity, I think to merely suggest that that says that men are toxic. You know, just like off the rip.
Say it.
Because
Say
how
it.
come we don't hear the words like toxic femininity?
Yeah.
We don't hear toxic femininity. You know, we don't. You just have toxic people. Period.
Right.
So I can
To
see
say
that the
toxic
word,
masculinity, to say toxic masculinity, it just suggests that already that men are toxic. Just because you know,
and
the fact that they're born men.
and that's what
And
I
that's
want to
horrible.
relay to our audience, that this is the kind of words that are out there. And that is not the case. I see it week after week after week. Great men turn up to our cast. And it is amazing. So I want people to understand, and Daddies Matter Too is here to relay the message. We're not anti-mom, we're pro-dad. And that's pro-dad in everything. I want to hear how fathers think about everything. If it's red and blue bubble gum, I want to know what fathers think about the differences of. And America and everybody abroad, if you're tuning in, just the words toxic masculinity has an effect on fatherhood. So let's cut it out, shall we? Let's boost positive, because I love my daddy. So I don't know what people are talking about, but there was never, and just like he was a rootin' tootin' cowboy.
Listen, Brenda.
Yes,
Listen. Tylon said this the best way ever. You don't hear it on the other end. You know why? Because the use of the word toxic masculinity then gives an excuse that people don't have to own up for what happens in every situation. So you can say that a relationship is good and bad with you and the partner, but you'll say that the reason why the relationship was bad is because he has toxic masculinity. You don't
Yep.
say, because but it's a nice buzzword to use. It's easy to use, and then let me tell you what it's equivalent to: saying that men are trash. That's what it's equivalent to. I don't care how you put it. It's equivalent to saying
I
men are trash.
I
Men are garbage.
understand. I understand. And that's why I want as many points of view. Welcome, Lakota Leon, to the screen. Welcome, my sister. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you for having me on. Hi, everyone. I'm in
Hey,
transit, so you'll probably hear a lot of wind. Just coming from IKEA, getting your niece Lulu her bed.
yay. Okay.
Lulu.
Hey, Lulu. We are all about it, Miss Lakota. So I know she's there. Chandra Morris is in the house. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
It is great to have you, Mrs. Do you have any points of view on toxic masculinity, and if it has any effect on fatherhood, in your opinion? Just the words itself.
Well, I am just joining, so I would like to probably take a moment to listen in before I actually speak on the topic.
Thank you so much. That works out better for us because Dr. Ron, you are so eloquent. You and Tylon, you guys both have like this about 5 minutes. Let's catch up everyone on the toxic masculinity.
Hello, Ron.
Oh, I
Hello, Ron.
okay.
Yeah,
I get.
now.
Oh, I didn't know.
Now.
I didn't know. I didn't know if Tylon wanted. I always defer first to Tylon because I know he is the host extraordinaire. He has the voice of magic that runs the show, that everything that goes. But I just want to come. I usually wait. I wait for him to say
Ron
the
said,
stuff, and then I come up for the backup. But like, we was in a fight. I let Tylon make the first punch, and I'm gonna sneak up from the back for him.
well, we're talking about just in a nutshell, and this is for Chandra who just joined. Why even the term toxic masculinity and what that word even suggests, and how sometimes we get caught into certain words and it's popularized and so popularized that we don't recognize that on the collective consciousness, the collective psyche of men, and not just men, just the entire community. When they hear it, they just assume men are toxic, as opposed to there's toxic behavior, what that behavior is, how we can identify it, and then how we can rectify it, as opposed to just connecting it to men by saying toxic masculinity. Like you never hear toxic femininity.
Okay. And see, now come in. You have to unmute yourself, Ron.
Right. And so as Tylon is saying, we are looking at, this is how is this affecting fatherhood overall? I think that's the biggest part because I use the example of William. When William was asked the question, he was like, yeah, I could see that maybe I am that. And then when I broke down to William, hey William, do you do these things to your family? And I know that I'm only saying it because I met William on Friday and I met his daughter who thinks that her dad is the world. So for him to openly just say to me that loud that, oh yeah, I have toxic masculinity. I'm like, oh, that seems like a very big disconnect from what his daughter believes about him as a father to what he was willing to accept in a nutshell to acknowledge that yes, as men we do things, but I don't think that that's our nature. I think that's the nature of human beings to do things wrong. Not like exclusively men do this and women don't do something. Men and women both do the same thing because we're both human beings. Look, you can't ask for equality and say treat me equal and I'm equal as a human and equal as a human, but then you say, well, this person has more responsibility as a human than me as a human. Or more
Wow.
accountability as a human than me as a human. You can't ask for equality and then say, well, but I don't want to be held accountable for this being a human. I think that's really their responsible. And I think that's what we have to get out of this mindset of saying we're each individually responsible for what we do as an individual. And we need to hold accountable for ourselves.
Okay. I love it. And Chandra
Are y'all
Morris.
traveling together, right? Oh no.
I know, right? Chandra Morris, now that you have a little bit more insight, do you have a better point of view? Because we have 2 more topics to tackle, and I want to make sure we get them all in. We got to get back to child support. That obviously is one of the things that runs our engine and runs our show, but we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to chime in because up next is game time. I've been planning this. Ron, I've been returning to the game time. We go get the games running, and I'm gonna pick on somebody else. Okay, so no comments, connections. Okay, so we're gonna play two truths and a lie. Raise your hand if you have a stable enough connection to be my partner. And I'm talking, okay, Ralph Williams, give us two truths and one lie about yourself.
Let me see. I'm the youngest out of 4 brothers and 1 sister. You say 2 truths and a lie?
Yes.
Let me see. I had a kidney transplant, and 3 other people that I know in my family also had kidney disease.
Okay, so 3 other people in your family has had kidney disease. You've had a kidney transplant. And what was the first one?
I'm the youngest out of 4 brothers and 1 sister.
Youngest out of 4 brothers. All right, let's see. Lakota Leon, what do you think he's not telling the truth about?
Let's see. I don't know. I think you maybe did have a kidney transplant, so I think that's true.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe the sibling order. Maybe you're not the youngest.
Ooh, I like it. Maybe you're not the youngest. I don't know. William Waite. Out
Yes,
of
ma'am.
out, which one is the lie? What did you think?
I didn't. Can you repeat the questions?
Absolutely. I can repeat the answers. So the
I'm in
first
the
one
answer.
is he is the youngest out of 4 sisters and a brother? Or is that
4 brothers and a sister.
4 brothers and a sister? All right, Ryan, help me out. Number 2 is
Can you re-explain? He had walked away and doesn't really know what's going on and what he's answering. So he didn't hear the gentleman, the question.
There's no way he's toxic masculinity.
Thank you, Ron.
That's right. It's me, the mama.
That's how this show goes.
Matriarchy. I listen. We can't get out of matriarchy. Is what we are as a people. Don't. Let's not take on other people's issues. Let's take on our issues. That's their issue. Patriarchy is their issue. That's not our issue.
Not at all.
And cultural differences too.
Right.
And Latina, I guess that's part of the Latina culture.
Cultural
like the other
differences,
lady
man.
said.
Kathleen,
it's
your fault, Kathleen. It is your fault. Okay. So back to the game. Now, William, here are the 3. He's the youngest out of, I'm just gonna say 4 siblings. He has had a kidney transplant, and he has kidney disease in his family. A few people have kidney disease in his family. So which one of those is the lie, do you think?
I think the lie is he the youngest in the family.
Ah, okay. So you don't think he's the baby?
Nah, I think he might. I believe the kidney disease stuff before I believe the baby part. He looked like he might be the baby, but I don't think he's the baby.
Okay, Kathleen Blanco.
He got baby face and stuff, but I'm gonna go with the kidney stuff.
And you think him getting a kidney is a lie, correct? Okay, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is the lie?
Oh, which one did I think was the lie? Yeah, I said it being.
He has a baby face. So I believe he's probably the youngest. I think that he's never he hasn't he says that he's had a kidney surgery or kidney transplant.
Yeah.
I don't believe that one.
Ah, okay. I don't believe that either, Kathleen. Like, I'm just gonna tell you, Ralph, I don't believe that. Ron, which one is the lie?
I would just say that the lie is more than likely The being the youngest family member.
Uh-oh, nobody believes you're the baby, Ralph. That's terrible. I don't know. Tylon, what do you think is the lie?
I think he's tricking us. They're all true. I'm gonna go off the rails. Everything he said was absolutely true.
Everything? So you
Yeah.
think that we're the pansies and he just
Yes.
played us all?
Yes,
All
I think he
right.
played us. I think he
I,
told us nothing but the truth.
I am there with you because I think so. No, I think the kidney thing is a lie. So Ralph, tell us which one is the lie.
I say I'm the youngest out of 4 brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest out of everybody.
Oh, congratulations, Ron. Kathleen Lakota. And no, I think William, you were on the other side, and Tylon, I think you were on the other side too. I just like to play a little game to put a little coffee on your palate so that we can get on to the next topic, which is always fun to do. Now, Tylon, you mentioned earlier in the show you wanted to go across child support, and I know your mic cut off right when you said it. So
Yeah.
what's up with you and child support this week?
Well, I hope you guys can hear me, and I don't have it to display, but one of the topics that came up on one of the feeds was a guy, I don't really remember his name, but he was upset that the mother told the child how much he was paying in child support. And it was a very, very hot topic, and I just wanted to chime in with this intelligent, beautiful group and wanted to ask the question, is it appropriate to tell your children how much child support they are paying and why?
Oh, this is good. I have to, okay, I'm gonna bother a Mrs. about this first because I have got to hear this. Lakota Leon, I am dying. What do you think? Is it okay for mommy to disclose the cost of child support to the baby?
I think it's inappropriate. Because what's the motive behind it? Is it to belittle the father? Is it to
Toxic masculinity.
yeah, what's it's like what's the motive? You know, that's something that's between the parents. That's something that should be discussed, planned, rolled out between the parents and if the courts are involved. I think when you pull in a child into that type of conversation, either the mother is positioning that child to either be her ally in a very negative sense, or, you know, as a form of like belittling dad, emasculating him. I just don't see like what the positive is in that, you know, in terms of telling a child that. Like, what's the spirit is it being told to?
Amen. Amen. I got the white towel over here. All right. Let me see. Dr. Ron, what do you think? Is it okay? Like, is that even good? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say that, do parents tell their children how much money they make? Because child support is really the income that is incoming into the home, and usually you don't hear parents telling kids if they make a lot of money or a little bit of money how much money they make. So again, I have to confer with Lakota and that. Why would you tell what there? I don't see the purpose. You don't tell children certain things. Do you tell listen? Will you tell your child that you don't tell your child that his dad's not really his dad when you know he's not his dad, though, do you? So why would you be telling again? Let's keep children conversation. That's children's conversation because children don't need to be brought into certain things until a certain time.
Amen. That's what I'm talking about. Ralph, what do you think? Is it okay for mommy or daddy to just disclose the amount of the child support?
No, I think that's just messed up. It's being messy. It's making the mother or the father, for your partner, for your child to look bad. There's no reason to tell your child, oh, like your father is, paying this. I mean, There's no reason for it. And then the child will look at that parent and say, "Oh, you a loser," or,
But let me just say this, Linda. I'm sorry, because we're looking at in the negative for the father, but sometimes it could turn around and be the backlash on the parent, because the kid is saying, I can't have this, I can't have that. But I know kids who have in session said to mothers that my father paid $1,500 a month and you won't let me have this. So you have you then
have to
have a
be very
problem with saying that the money, why can't I have what I want when you're getting the money from my dad? And that
for
is
me.
something that you want to be very want to be very careful with.
Hey, I'm loving it. I'm digging it. Kathleen Blanco, what do you think? Is it okay for mommy or daddy to just disclose the amount of that whole child support order to the kid?
Let me see Spanish.
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary for the mom to be braggadocious and saying, "Hey, your dad, your dad only pays this. Your dad gives this." It's not like most of the time us women, we don't say, "Hey, we earn this amount of money at work." Like, I think that,
Absolutely.
like, we as women as well, we don't like, we don't talk about our income. So why would a mom even talk about the income of child support to the kid? That's none of
I
the kid's
think
business.
I
Because
think
then,
it's
then the
very
kid,
hurtful.
because then the kid's gonna have a different perception of the mom or the dad, and then the kid's gonna start thinking, the child's not gonna have their own mind. The child's gonna be influenced and thinking, "Oh, well, my daddy this or my daddy that,"
Mhm.
or
I
mom,
understand.
oh, it goes around. It's like the cat and mouse game. Well, you
It is.
did this, and
And it's very dangerous,
it's
like
like
Dr.
everybody.
Ron. It's very dangerous, like Dr. Ron said, because it can boomerang back to you, which is not a good look. William, wait, what do you think? Mommy, daddy disclosing the amount of child support to the baby, good plan or no way, man?
Nah, that's bad business for me. That's, that kind of rolled over into the toxic masculinity type situation. It's like, why would you tell, if you a mom and you get, nah, it's a bad deal. I can't even explain it. I'm so heated right now.
That's
Nah,
okay. Maybe you could get a little help from Tylon Washington. I
yeah,
think he
Talon, help us out, man.
might have hit a good spot. What do you think, Tylon?
Yeah, you know what? It's case by case basis, but I know in a lot of states, the child support amount is part of public records. I know in some places it's sealed. Kids needed to or wanted to. I just don't see a need to do that. And I know of more cases. And trust me, that this is no data or any statistics on this, but just in terms of experiences and people that I know that I talk to and clients that I talk with, that the amount has always been weaponized against the men. You can't get this because daddy only pays X amount, or daddy is in arrears, or daddy doesn't pay. And I think that does a real serious psychological harm to children, because they always will equate child support with their worth. And so I think
Wow.
I think kids will say, you know, um, you know, if daddy's only paying this and this and that, maybe that's what daddy thinks I'm worth, as opposed to that is probably as much as daddy can afford to pay. So, and like I said, I don't have any data and statistics on that. And I like to hear more from the women like Chandra. I think she's been on, or Lakota, to talk about, like, the psychological effects that, sometimes broadcasting that to children, especially the young and the vulnerable, as opposed to when they get a little bit older, where they can probably process just a little bit. But for most cases that I'm aware of, the amounts have always been weaponized.
I love it. Actually, Karis Wade is in the house as well. So welcome, Karis. Thank you for joining us too. Chandra Morris, you guys can feel free to unmute yourselves and chime on in, or turn your cameras on when you feel like you have something to say, because here it's about everybody's point of view. And I'm really curious about that, Tylon, me myself, because I would not dare disclose that to my son. Like, he didn't even know that that was a thing until he was like 20. Like, he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. Because I just don't, I'm with all of you guys. I don't see the need to disclose that. So if you're listening out there, you know, on the internet today, tomorrow, and beyond, parents, be careful of things like that. Lakota, what kind of damages do you think that might can cause if you just let it roll out there? Oh,
Father and child without saying, without saying. Um, and it also, you know, there's a term called splitting. You know, an individual will, like, negatively influence someone else to kind of change their mindset, change their worldview. And that's what really at the heart of it. You know, when the mother, you know, or custodial parent discloses that information, I totally agree with Talon that it is weaponizing, but it's also splitting. You're also kind of setting that trajectory as to the type of relationship that child is going to have with the parent. You know, I don't think the child has that level of complex thinking to equate self-worth with anything, but there will be animosity. There will be a sense of, you know, and again, it's just how the message is relayed to that child. You know, it just very well be how the message relates to that child, and just how the narrative is shaped for that child to take in. And you know, the reality of it is weaponized. You know, in some states it is public record, but no kid is gonna go to look through public records to, you know, to see, you know, what is being paid in child support. However, you may have, you know, that mother who will, you know, throw it in the child's face that this is all he's paying for you. You know, as opposed to if for whatever spectacular reason she feels the need to relay that, breaking it down in a way that's respectful to the father, but also, you know, in a way that's conducive to, you know, dad is helping you, you know, helping me support you as best as he can. That's different from, you know, well, he's only giving you this, and
Right.
and you see what you need, right? You know, like it's in the message, and I've seen it happen. You know, I've seen it happen. You know,
I
You know,
love it
you
when
know
you
what?
can break it down. Go ahead, Dr. Ron.
Another thing that Dakota is probably even going to get to, and I'm not going to not speaking for it, but I was just thinking that just as a family therapist as I am, and I think about things like that can parentify a child. And that's the last thing you want to do as adults is to parentify your child. That now children already are all going to always look for a crack to make it into a crater in their development.
Wow.
Their job when you're a married couple with your child, and your child's always looking for somebody to align with the other parent to, you know, parentify themselves, to become parentified, and then, you know, weasel into getting things they want the way they want. If we, you know, one of the problems that we want to, you know, this becomes a problem when you openly introduce that and bring the child into that place. Now you thinking that you're doing it to help yourself and benefit you, but then the child can use that same, you know, that crap to become parentified and be, you know, then playing both of you parents against each other. Now you're not working together as two parents, so now you definitely they have a bigger, you know, I'm going over. I forget you, mom. I'm going over dad's house. You're not talking to dad, so you don't even call to find out if they are at dad's house. They out somewhere completely else. So this is what happens when you introduce these type of things into and parentifying children. So be careful. Be careful.
Wow, I am digging it. The kind of information that we are digging up here, Tylon. I think we are on to something. What do you think?
But we have a fantastic group of people. I'm telling you, we need to charge for these shows. People are getting a chocolate information and a lot of like clarity, because I think that's what our community lacks. So I'm so appreciative of you, Brenda, William Waity, Ralph Williams, everybody, Lakota, Leon, all of the folks who've chimed in on all these very, very important issues to dads. Because remember, when we're talking about dads, we are talking about families. You know, I only see in the in the Black community where children are not only parentified, but women are viewed as the leaders, and so like almost like when you say I don't need a man, it's like you don't need a father. Your homes don't need a father. Pushback is coming, and I'm so grateful to the knowledge and wisdom of so many people who are here on the panel, and to get this message out that daddies matter too.
Absolutely. I'm loving it and I am digging it. And you know what? It seems that I have the controls. I just now found out that Talon handed over the controls. So we're going to take a little bit of a break because we're at the top of the hour. We have about 3 minutes, and I don't want, if you got to get some water, if you got to stand still, or get adjusted, we're going to check out some Dad Cypher. Shout out to Dr. J and Dr. K. Always love them doing their thing. And let's just take a little bit of snippet so that I can get everything together and decide what it is that we're about to do next. 3 minutes, guys. Woo!
Well, let me shout out Karis. I want to thank her for joining in. She's a brilliant emerging voice in entertainment. I'm so glad to have her here with her dad, her amazing dad. And what we said when we were offline is that, much of her success and what she is and what she's doing, she has to lay at the feet of dad, who seems very supportive. And he joined us on Friday, and he's here with us today. So I want to thank him. I want to thank Ralph.
Woo!
And I wish
Thanks,
Ralph
Dad.
and his dad, the best of health. And I hope he's in the best of hands and best of care with all the health challenges that we face, and just be mindful too of stress. I think no matter what you have, cancer, whatever it is that people are dealing with out here, that stress is the #1 killer in the Black community, and we have a lot of stress. So if we could be more loving and kind and thoughtful to each other, that's going to do a lot for our overall collective health and the health of our community. So I guess we'll be back in another minute or so.
And in another couple of minutes.
Yeah. If you like the first half, you're gonna love the second half. And thanks, Brenda. You're doing a fantastic job. Yes, I gave you the controls because it's hills and valleys on the way to Connecticut, and so sometimes the signal is not as smooth. So you're doing a terrific job of just really of filling in those blanks.
Oh my God. Well, thank you. And that's what co-parenting is all about. Filling in the blanks when the other one is down. Here we go, y'all. Tell me it's not.
As her quote unquote daddy, so to speak. And I don't know if I necessarily want to be a daddy. I find it quite awkward to say daddy. Not by. I think it's a problem saying, I don't know. Well, y'all let us know here out on in the Dad Cypher universe. Do you think it's okay if your woman call you daddy? So what's up, young scholars? This your boy, the extra large professor, and sitting right next to me is
twin number 2, and I am twin number 1.
And today on Dad Cypher, we have a very special guest, y'all. Newly licensed psychologist, all the way from Brick City, home of Naughty by Nature, Redman, Queen Latifah. She is also the woman that I call my Brick City, Georgia peach. So the woman that I put the ring on it, right? So with that being said, give it up for the one, the only, Dr. K.
Hey!
This gonna be a banger.
Okay, yeah.
X out, baby.
Okay, you're above. You're above everything.
Thank you guys for having me on today. I know it's y'all's Dad Cypher, but bonus moms have opinions too. So, like I said, since I work with kids and families, this is my bailiwick, my bailiwick, my bailiwick. And so I'm all excited to hear about Nicki Minaj and her fatherhood experience.
I mean, Nicki Minaj is trash, but yeah, she is kind of.
Oh my gosh, you guys are trash.
Okay. Nah.
Yes. So if you guys want to see more of Dr. J and Dr. K, go on over. I just wanted to give us a few more moments to get it all together. And now let's just jump back in. This is hour 2 of Daddies Matter Too here on GoPro Radio. I know I'm supposed to say that. I didn't say that, Ron. You got to help me out. Say it. This is Daddies Matter Too on GoPro Radio.
Yeah, this is I'm really missing the music today. So, but hey, I was glad to see Daddy Cypher, man. I missed that.
Right, right. I'll miss the music too, but you gotta like fatherhood, you got to do what you got to do when you got to do it. Are you guys ready to get into the next part of the show? And I'm hoping this will go good. Ready? Okay. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna just go. All right. I'm gonna go. So last week, while we were here in the studio, Tylon's daughter mentioned something that had happened to her in school. And because she is a youngin', I I thought I was by myself when I mentioned great things about my dad. I generally get beat up on. When I say, my dad was like rootin' tootin', male figure straight from Cuba, that very masculine type of, I guess what made him daddy to me, what made him so exciting to me doesn't excite other people, and they get mad at me, and they said that that is perpetrating a negative connotation on the male image. So I want to know, and I'm sure a lot of people out there want to know, does it? So I'm going to do bookends. I'm going to start off with Dr. Ron. Does it make, is that a bad image to be heaped upon you? Is the viewpoint of, you know, things that used to be, I guess they say old fashioned, as in, head of the household, the one that made the decisions, put his foot down. And, mom was bad, but dad was tough. You didn't want to disappoint daddy. And I don't know. People don't like that so much nowadays, Dr. Ron.
Well, I think people don't like something they don't know about. I think one of the issues that we have in our community is that there's such a lack of look, I'll tell you, you can ask any woman, and I say that based on my experience of meeting women, dating women, meeting women, talking to women, working with client, everything. Women who have experience with their dad, depending on what it is, how they had experience with their dad, and having involvement, engagement with their dad, have a completely different opinion about dads than women who haven't, as well as father, as well as men. Men. There are men who have relationships with their dad, and that relationship they had dictates how they are even connected to other men. A man who has an issue with other men, sometimes you ask him, hey man, tell me a little bit about your dad. I ain't had no dad. My dad's dead.
Oh,
So you begin to really recognize that some of how our behaviors and what we believe is really based on our own experience and our own childhood experiences. So when you're always saying that, Brenda, you have to also remember who you're getting the resistance from. I bet you if you asked them, you don't have those kind of experience with your dad, and they would say immediately, no. And so how would they be able, I can't identify with you. And again, if I feel some way about my dad and dads, and I find other people to feel that way, we're going to support that mission. And I say, growing up in a house that wasn't with my dad, I had 3 stepfathers and my dad, you know, and I'll tell you that I understand what it means. I understand why my dad wasn't there. I don't have an attitude with him. I don't hate him. I don't think that dad's bad. I also understand the person my mother was. So understanding both people and not giving either one of them uh difference, that I'm taking one person's side over the other, because now I'm a grown man who deals in relationships and have to understand with my child's mother how different we are and the things that we have to deal with and how I have to deal with them. So sometimes we have, and I question even the people who have these differences with you, what is their experience? And we have to just remember people have experiences, and their experiences dictate their opinion, and that's why things become subjective, not objective.
I love it. That's what I like, to get these clear, concise answers that let me know that, okay, it's going to be all right. Ralph, you're like me. You have all of these great memories of your dad. Do you get a good reception or bad reception when you sing the praises of your dad?
No, I actually get a good reception. Because like for different reasons, spiritually and physically, I wouldn't be alive because of my dad. Like I said, though, about the kidney transplant that I went through. I was sick for 16 years, and my dad gave me hope, which I tell you in the song. I put the lyrics in the song. My dad gave me hope and kept me strong throughout those 16 years. My mom did too, but my dad was one of the ones who also kept me strong. I wouldn't have been alive. I probably would have gave up a long time ago if it wasn't for my dad. So I tell people about how my dad taught me, and they like, wow, we loved your dad. Like I tell strangers, and they look at me like, I wish we had a dad like that, you know. So
Aw,
See?
aw. Yeah, okay. Maybe I got to get better friends or get around better people. I'm curious, Karis, let me see if I can get her to the screen. Karis, when you tell your stories about your dad, what's the reception that you get back?
The reception I get back is pretty split down the middle, 50-50. It definitely depends on who I'm talking to, as Ron so expertly pointed out. You have to understand the audience to which you are about to inform them, because also everyone is not entitled to your entire story. Not everyone needs to know the depth of the connection that you have with a personal family member. Some people just want very specific information, so they're listening for that. But in the context of when someone just asks very general questions, I give very general answers. I just match the enthusiasm. I'm just like, my dad, he's great. He lives in Texas. He just got married. He's super happy. And they're generally okay with that answer. Where I do run into a lot of friction and tension is when I am talking about either something that me and my dad went through together or some similarities we have, because we're very open and very honest with each other. I think we have like a really weird relationship for millennial connection to their parents. Like I'm not judgmental. He's not judgmental. Like I can go to dad before I go to mom. Kind of thing. And that seems to lay on a nerve of Black women around me. But once I've had space to explain why my personal relationship is the way that it is, and that we have worked on this. We've spent years nurturing this. We spent years figuring out each other at every step of the way.
Yep.
Like my dad raised me. So I was a baby, and then I was a preteen, and then a super difficult teenager. And then I moved away for college, and I came back a completely different person. I wasn't a kid anymore. I was a woman. And so we had to figure out what our adult relationship looked like. And that's been really fun. But I noticed that a lot of my friends and a lot of people in the millennial space don't have that evolution of relationship with their parents. I didn't realize it was such a blessing and such a privilege to be able to evolve with your parents. And my dad is one of the people that I have done that with. So if other people don't have that same level of connection, of intimacy with a parent, I think that's where they run into a personal wall and can't understand how anyone at all could have the type of relationship they have with their parents, because they're just thinking about it from their point of view. But I don't shut up about these experiences, because people need to know that they exist, and they need to know that it's possible. Relationships are not static. They are if you want them to be that way. But I could have come back from college and been like, oh, well, my parents are old, whatever. I'm gonna just send them to a nursing home when they get even older. I don't have to be bothered with them. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like,
You're not.
we don't do, yeah, culturally we don't do that, but I've heard some people, some of my friends in like the same age, like just throw away their parents with like some deep-seated bitterness and just some things that they don't want to address with, because they don't want to do the work. It's a lot of emotional work, a lot of mental work to dig into generational things. And it takes a lot of time, but me and my dad did the work. So I'm pretty proud of it. So no, I don't shut up about it.
Good for you. That is what I am talking about, because I have gone through the fire. I won't shut up about it. My dad was great. He's Superman. I'm so sad I don't have him anymore. But those of you who do still have your daddies, make sure you are singing the praises, because if you don't, nobody else will. It does not seem. Kathleen, what about you? When you actually, talk about your dad, what kind of responses do you get back?
Just like Ralph, I usually get a positive response. Everybody in my family that has come across, it could be family or just friends, nobody has a negative reputation about my father's character. I've never heard anything negative, because my dad, he's the youngest out of God knows how many siblings, but he is the most devoted and loyal person and hardworking man that I know.
Oh.
And I'm a daddy's girl. I'm a daddy's girl to the end of the day. Like, I would die in front of my dad. Like, anytime my mom would get mad because my dad is expressing his frustration, I'm like, don't you dare disrespect him. Like, he's the one that has maintained this household. Like, I defend him tooth and nail, because I see the example of fatherhood. I see the example of the man. And a lot of times he does not get credit. He does not get the credit that I feel that a man deserves, because not a lot of fathers are like him nowadays. Like, you don't see a lot of dads that carry that mentality of like, I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna take care of my kids, I'm gonna make sure they have food to eat, clothes on their back, and still be able to maintain a family to this day. No father is perfect, no man is perfect, but I think that because I saw the way that he was raised and the way that he raised us, I think that he deserves a gold medal. He deserves to be standing on the podium and getting all the accolades, because he just don't. They refer to him as a saint. So at the end of the day, I don't have anything negative to say about my dad.
Oh no, this is the opposite. Yeah, I just get a lot of people who give me such backlash about having great fatherhood memories, because I too am a daddy's girl. Yes, Tylon. Nope.
You know what? I'm listening to these, wonderful comments and wonderful experiences, and I'll be the first one to say that being a dad is not perfect. We're wonderfully flawed, like anyone else. We're learning as we go, and so much, particularly and especially in the Black community, have been denied us in terms of access to information, who we are, even of our names and our values, our history. So much has been stolen. Like I said last time, all dads aren't created equal. And I think the experiences of the Black family and the Black father are very unique in this country that should really allow for a lot more love and support and understanding. Having said that, a lot of women who have negative responses to, positive messages about fathers are trying to trauma bond. They're more interested in, trying to figure out, what happened to you so they can say, wow, my trauma wasn't as bad, because we do have trauma. We do have people who are, who have, challenging experiences, but that's not the case in most cases. So what I think we have to do, and that's why I'm so glad that we have like Kathleen on and a filmmaker like Harris is on, is we have to change the narrative by showing that, although, we may not be 100% perfect, that we are loving fathers that do the best that we absolutely can. We're not the monsters that, you often see on just about every movie, that's produced, that comes out of Hollywood, that depicts Black men as, problematic. Even when you hear like, stories about our leaders, they are always viewed, as, being, too much of a man, whatever that is, just some of the most kookiest imagery. And it's scary, So I'm so grateful to this show. And I'm so grateful to you, Brenda, for, conceiving of such a show and a platform that actually pushes back on the narrative that, having fathers or male energy in a home is a problem.
Thank you so much, Tylon. That has always been my one and only goal. And I'm glad that I was actually able to make a bromance between you and Dr. Ron. If I could say two birds of a feather, two bookends of my fatherhood, I couldn't have picked two better ones. So I thank you for taking on the task of kind of charging the fatherhood, because I'm telling you, it takes a lot of energy, and only a father can actually spearhead fatherhood. So I did the best I could until now. So I thank everybody. Chandra, anytime you want to chime in, please make sure, lift a hand, turn your camera on. Lakota, welcome back. I see you, girlfriend. This has been a really, really, really good conversation, and it has soothed my soul for fatherhood.
Brenda, can I say something in reference to, something Tylon said about, and I think that it is very prevalent from many of the people here. And I think that it was crystal clear when it was, when it was described that I the guest said that she has worked on a relationship with her father. That means that she have had a conversation about who he is and who she is and who he is. And I think that makes me think about a good friend of mine, like one of my good friends, and how she talked so much about her dad, even though he was on crack. And we know what crack did to our community, but that her dad was different from the addiction. And her dad will, if her dad, and she talks about her dad being here alive today, some things that happened in her family that, regardless of what he said, he would have been the man to say, listen, the father to say, this was wrong, this shouldn't have happened that way. Because regardless of what father he was, you also remember that he was on addiction is different. Addiction and being a father are two different things. I know people who are addicted who be the best fathers they can, but they're dealing with a drug addiction. Are they dealing with alcohol addiction? And yes, they have flaws that come with that, but it doesn't change their character and their heart of what kind of father they are and what they feel about their children. And I think that's a big part that Tylon was discussing, because people will use these factors to say this person is no good. This person is not that. That person is the addiction that they're suffering. And when you deal with them on one-to-one, as William has clearly done with his daughter, and they talk one-on-one, just like in any situation. When we talk to people one-on-one, we get a better understanding of who they are, what they're going through, and what they face. And then we don't we can't be affected by people's opinions or generalizations about our people when we had a one-on-one. Like, and,
I
and
love
it's
it.
big in, we see this a lot, even in race issue, everything. When you deal with that individual person and find out who they are and what they're about, it's very hard for people to tell you anything anything else about them, because I met this
I,
person intimately.
I love it. And Lakota Leon, she wasn't here before. She dropped out, but she's back. However, I know she's a daddy's girl like I am. So let me see if I can get her opinion. Lakota, when you tell
Yes.
stories about your dad and regale in his greatness, what kind of response do you get back, do you think?
Well, it's interesting because when I tell stories about my dad, we got to take it in the context of parenting then versus now. My dad right now is 70. I think my dad is about 78 or 79.
Woo!
So it's a different generation. And, so stories about him kind of brings about a different kind of reverence because, parents.
Uh-oh, you have to unmute yourself. Okay.
All right, hear me now?
Yes, there you
Yeah,
go.
so what I was saying was that, reactions when I tell stories about my dad are vastly different because, the age of my father, the time frame when there was like a two-parent household, there was a sort of reverence as it related to child rearing back then. Compared to now, when, dads are a bit more younger, the negative, the shower of negativity wasn't as bad back then as it is now. And, when I would tell stories about my dad, it would usually be around people who already knew him and who knew he was about. And those who didn't know him were much older and could relate because their fathers were around the same age range and their fathers had that type of parenting style. So I really think it's a generational thing. I really do. I think reactions to fatherhood now is way different than it was, many, many moons ago. Because I'm a child of the 80s. And again, I came from it took a whole village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
My dad was the kind of man who was always sharp. He always wore, a tie or a bow tie. I don't think I've ever seen my dad dress casual unless we're like on the beach somewhere. So there was just a certain level of reverence that he carried and how he carried himself. And men his age around that time frame who were like head of the household. Like my father, was, the head of the household. And it was projected the way that he carried himself. So when you tell stories about him, it was like, yeah, because that's, he was the father. Now it'd be different, I think. It would just be completely different because social media and again, the villainization of men and dads is so deeply prevalent now compared to again when I was growing up. Yeah,
I
so I think
love
it's just
it.
different. Yeah, it's just different this time around.
We are definitely going to work to change the narrative and offer all different paths that lead to fatherhood. So thank you, Dr. Ron. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, William, Kathleen, Tylan, Karis, Lakota, and even you, Chandra, listening in, because the only way to change the narrative is to give them something else to tune into, something else to get down to. So you guys ready for the next game? I'm all about having a good amount of time, a good amount of fun. And so I came up with this game in my head right now. You guys ready?
Yeah, go
Yep.
ahead. We're
Yep.
That's
ready.
right. I'm the crazy person. So no, I don't have music. I got tons of games because I like to have a good time. If I'm going to be here, I might as well have fun. And nothing helps to change the narrative than to look like you're having a good time. So each one of you, one by one, I want you to answer something for me. If you could mend, change, or rearrange something about fatherhood in 2021? Give me your top 3, and you have 60 seconds to do so. I'm starting with William. He looks like he's been paying attention this time. Let's go, William.
You're up, Dad.
Oh man. 3 things that I would change about fatherhood in 2021. Stop. You be confused. My wife is confusing me. She hear the question. She hear the question in the Latino context, and then you tell it to me in the African American context, and I'm confused.
Oh no. Well, I will
No,
shout
he didn't
out
like to blame me.
I will shout out the Latino connection. My dad was from Cuba, swam over with 2 words of English. He took care of us all. So that, like, my dad was amazing. So shout out to that connection. So now the top 3 things, just, you want better Father's Day gifts. That would be a good one. Like, I'd
Oh,
want
okay. Yeah.
better Father's Day gifts.
I feel attacked.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll make that one of mine. You hear that, Karis? Better Father's Day gift.
No.
Unfortunately, I do. You are very expensive, but okay, looks like I got to step up my game. Okay, all right.
No, you're simple.
No, you know that. You know that ain't me. I'm
Number
just asking.
2.
I would say my spiritual. I would like every father to like have a spiritual growth with their daughters and sons.
Ah,
That's
that would be
that's what I would
great.
say.
Yeah, that would be great. And number 3, round it off. Bless you.
I would
Thank you.
say
Sorry about that.
better communication.
Ah, fatherhood could use better communication. Yeah, I totally agree. See how less painful that was? See, you said 3 things and nobody killed you. All right. I'm listening to Kathleen Blanco. How about you, Kathleen? If you could change 3 things, amend them, make them better for you and your world, because you sound like you had a really great dad. I want a dad like yours. Can I have like a dad like yours? But choose 3 things in the imagery of fatherhood in 2021.
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is a more reformed way of thinking of parenting styles.
Amen.
From, like, you know, not giving negative connotation to old school parenting versus being a parent. I'll say that. 2, I'll say communication. I can definitely, that can be improved.
Oh,
3,
wow. So we got 2 for the communication. That works out, Kathleen.
and I think a more historical understanding of my parents, of my father's ancestry.
I
I
love it.
I love it.
I think
I love that.
that's a big goal. I would love to learn more about my ancestry from my father's side.
Wow, I
Beautiful.
think we just picked up a project. All right, Ralph, how about you? If you could reach out there and amend, change, make better, what would be the 3 things in your top for
First,
fatherhood?
first one for the fathers, teach not just the kids, the whole family, that it's still COVID time, so wear your mask. It's still
Hey,
dangerous out there.
hey.
Second, children for by the parents said, Brenda used an example. Let your father know how much you love. Father still wants to know, even that you're an adult. Give them a call at least once or twice a week, just to know that that they still being cared, that they still being loved. My dad, just like about 2 weeks ago told me he went to the final. He live in Phoenix, and he went to the finals for the first time. And he's like, I didn't even think, my sons like didn't even think of me much anymore, and I'm still getting like attention. So that's the second one, and the third one, I don't know. I can't even think of a third one.
Better Father's Day gifts. I'm
That's
advocating for
probably
y'all. All right. Well, thank you for those top two. With my third, suggestion, Ron, how about you? Top three things. If you could go out there and just make these three things amended, make it better, figure it out. What would your top three things be?
First thing was to be able to change the social construction of what fatherhood is, not just for other people, but for fathers, because that's probably one of our biggest downfalls. That there's a social construction that has been dictated to what we should be and how we should be. That lends to some of that issue about toxic masculinity and those things. So just to be able to focus and realize that we don't have to be those things today. There's other things that's more important. We don't have to be the hunter and killer and ruthless. We can be the nurturer and still be a provider. So that's first thing. The next thing is for us to begin to really recognize, for people to recognize that the importance of fathering skills in the rearing of children. I think many times people have this idea that you don't need a father to raise children. And children are at a deficit when they don't have fathers in their life teaching them the fathering skills that only fathers have. You can't, there's no substitute. Mothers have mother skills. We know it. We know what they are because we see them on display every day. We don't very often see the fathering skills because sometimes fathers are not able to get to do them, but they are very important. And if you want the best for your kid, you need to allow them to be able to get the fathering skills from fathers. So the implementation of fathering skills being active in their children's life, regardless how you feel about the father. And then the third thing I would say is the idea of consent of men having to become fathers. And that I know that people say, what does that mean?
I'm like, what?
Okay, so what happens is this is an idea that becoming a father is something that people decide to, that hopefully they're communicating and deciding to have happen. In our society, we have a lot of people a lot of men who have not consent to become fathers, but they are then placed in this position to be a father without their consent. And we are now holding them accountable for the idea that they plan to have sex with a person, regardless of, and I know I'm getting to it gets this gets touchy with people. Well, you have sex, babies are gonna come. Yeah, you also can get STDs and sexually transmitted diseases and those things. So you can get there's a lot of stuff can happen when you have sex. But if a person does not want to have a child, it seems as that the consent has been denied for fathers to give that consent a lot of time, because a mother and consent if they want to be a father or not want to be a father has been denied. So that's one thing I hope that we can look to start to change the consent of a man wanting to be a father, because this is how we end up with so
Yeah,
many
talk about it.
disabled kids who are disabled
Talk about it.
emotionally,
Yeah.
because you have forced somebody to become something that they didn't want to become. And that's probably not, the day of shotguns coming to somebody's house is not appropriate. As well as someone who wants to have something with you and you say, well, I don't want to, so I'm not going to have it. So tough luck. It's my body, my choice. And it is, but I think I wish we could change that idea a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I love it. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk
Yep.
more about that next week, Ron. So Dr. Ron came up with one of our topics for next week. I wrote it down, so it's in stone. So if you want to like explore that about fatherhood, because I'm very, very that concerns me, Dr. Ron, because I am
Yep.
raising a man. And that does concern me in this day and age. So shout out to you for your top 3 things. All right, Karis, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
There we go. Name the top 3 things that could use some tuning up if you could, or may assuage the situation, make it better for fatherhood in 2021.
Okay. I have had a few of my answers stolen, so these are my on the fly answers. But I'm in great company to have wonderful things stolen from me. So pretty happy about it. But all of my answers fall underneath the umbrella of space. And so that's area or room, if you will. So the first thing I would want for dads is to have space for expression. And that starts with them being able to experience the full range of human emotion, the entire gamut of human emotion, just like women are allowed to experience every feeling under the sun. Men are people. And I am a full advocate that parents are people first and parents second. And so as humans, we experience several different emotions. A lot of emotions happen at the same time, but men are told through social construction, as Ron has pointed out, that they should pick one or two out of the 20,000 that you can experience as humans, and that's the one that they should wear on their face all the time, or hold in their body as stress and tension, which leads to like high blood pressure and them not having an outlet to get rid of all the emotions that they've been holding on to physically. And then on the end of that range, also in the expression category, is I would love to see more dads have room to express their talents. Because a lot of men they have so many talents. They're so amazing, and they're not given room to be amazing. They're just given room to be dads, which is all about responsibility. And it's not really about figuring out who this man is so you can have a relationship with him, whether that's like as a partner or as a child of his. So yeah, I have had that happen with my dad, where I didn't really know much about his talents until I started digging, started asking questions, and got to see him go after his dreams and
Oh,
figure out that
wow.
I got some of my talents from him. That was beautiful. That was a moment of connection that I don't think a lot of people understand, that should not be taken for granted. So that's one of them. But second, I would love for dads to have space to fail. Women get space to do this all the time. All the time. We fail at something, we're like, okay, we're gonna try something different. That's fine. The kids are still gonna be good. And we're still called great mothers. Men are not like that. They miss the mark one time, and they have this on their record and their conscience. And a lot of times they have this in they're holding that judgment in their bodies for a really long time. And they don't know what to do with it because they're not allowed to express it. So it might come out in the way that they talk to people. It might come out in the way they drive cars real fast. It might come out in a myriad of ways that are deemed socially unacceptable, but you've already deemed their emotions socially unacceptable because you told them indirectly that they are not allowed to fail, which is wholly unfair. So I would love for them to have space to fail so that they can learn their mistakes as people and then turn around and teach against those mistakes as parents.
Yeah, I love it.
And then
Okay.
last but not least, this is very quick. I won't take that much time. But I would love space. This is like the filmmaker in me. I would love space to focus on dads.
Yay! Talk to me, girl.
Yeah. We all know the parents are people, and they deserve support. So aside from like the one day that we we highlight fathers, and aside from like, you know, support groups and all of this, which I think there should be more for dads at every single stage of fatherhood. There should definitely be more support systems for them.
Are you interested?
I think this is solely to just focus and celebrate fathers,
Yeah,
to tell them what they're doing right, to you know, help them continue doing what they love, even if it has nothing to do with them being a parent, but like, hey, they want to like start a band. Okay, go celebrate them for that. We just need more spaces to focus on the celebrating of
fatherhood. Yay! A girl after my own heart, Karen. I have about 3 years worth of film and fatherhood. As a filmmaker, if you want to hit me up, you are welcome to it. There is all opinions, and Dr. Ron made a lot of videos. I got a lot of opinions before he figured out what it was I was doing over here. So hit me up.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. My heart just grew 3 times bigger. Ron, you're about to become a fatherhood star. I told you, stick with me, and this is your life. All right, Lakota, last but certainly not least, between the bookends, what are you thinking? Your top 3 things to make fatherhood a better place.
Well, I think more on like the systemic piece, because I'm not a dude, so I can't speak to fatherhood in terms of like it on that deeper level. But I think systemic, when I think of something such as like child support, I think child support should be either government centered, whereas like I said, I lived in a country where the government handled child support, or based on income. It's, I think, one of the biggest injustices in this country is the mother can be making a 6-figure salary, yet the father is still paying child support and doesn't make anywhere near what the mother makes. So that needs to change. I think number 2, and this is probably going to sound almost ageist in nature, I think, you know, we have too many young fathers who look at having children as a novelty and not a responsibility. And I see that happening within my family. I have 2 young nephews who became dads, and it's freaking them the hell out. Well, it's freaking one the hell out. One is still kind of like in La La Land. There's this huge reality TV star who recently became a father and literally is showing on TV and social media that he's bailing. And his whole thing is, I didn't know it was this difficult. So I do think, you know, a lot of these young fathers, they go in this, they have these children and do not have a full grasp or understanding of the fact that this is a responsibility. That once the, you know, the cute baby pictures and the expensive clothes and, you know, the namesake, you know, kind of fades away, you are responsible for the social, emotional, mental health of this being. And so I feel, you know, that as well. And the third, they need to hook up Father's Day gifts better. That's all.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Father's Day gifts. I mean, you don't have to be a father to understand that they need better gifts, y'all. They need better gifts. All right. And last but not least, my bookend, Tylon Washington. What say you, Tylon? The top 3 things that would make fatherhood a better place in your opinion?
Well, each and every person on this panel, all of you are tough acts to follow. I hate doing this cleanup because you guys said far more eloquently all the things that I would probably say. But I just want to, you know, first of all, I want to say that I'm unapologetically Black, you know, and I have to say that the Black community has been under attack for quite a long time. And this attack has happened by attacking and you attack the security providers for the family. You attack the people who are supposed to, be the literal backbone of the, and I said the Black bone, so I put them all together, of the family. And so I would like to see a lot of work in terms of the wrongfully convicted and over incarceration. the brutality and murder of Black men. I think that we don't talk about that in the context of fatherhoods, and where a lot of the fathers are. I would like to also, if I could change another couple of things, is with the support of some of these incredible filmmakers who are here, of images. Images are powerful, and I always said, he who controls the diameter of your thinking controls the circumference of your action. Even the responses to Lakota's nephews are really born out of not seeing enough of shows like Daddies Matter Too, not having that sense of connection to people like Dr. Ron and some of the other folks who are on this panel that can really change. We're on the cutting edge, folks. This may seem like, well, it's not a lot of people on this call, but it's not about quantity, it's about the quality of people who are here. And getting this message out, I think will have a ripple effect. People will start to pick up, because when you hear the truth, it resonates. And that's the power of the show. That's the power of this format. That's the power of Dr. Ron, Brenda Brown, Lakota Leon, Karis, her dad, everybody else's dad. We speak in truth to power, but we have to contextualize it and realize and recognize and speak strongly and firmly on the fact that our community is under attack, and they're attacking the men because the men are the protection, they're the security, they are the one of them pushing crime film. It's called Disappearing Film. So hopefully that will change something in real time, because it's not just a wish. It's something that I like to move beyond, recognizing that there's a problem, identifying it, but also shining a light on this attack. And I guarantee you, if we change that,
Okay, I think Tylon has hit like one of those spots. So Tylon, I'm gonna just take over from here because your screen has even frozen. So when he gets back or gets to a better spot, we will catch back up with him. I can't even mute his microphone. That's how bad that is. So with that being said, Tylon, as soon as I see you start moving around again, we'll get back to you. But I would like to thank you all for coming here and giving your opinions to us. We made it through another episode, and I think with every episode, we change at least one mind. So as long as you guys keep showing up, showing out, giving everything you got to fatherhood, I think we can find a lot of social resolution to a lot of things that are happening in fatherhood. So we're at the end of the second hour. I know you guys wouldn't even believe it. And I'm trying to stall to see if Tylon will come back into view before we get out of here. But guess what, guys? I've already rewritten next week's show. So we will talk about the consent of fatherhood. Shout out to you.
Sister Bren, I just
Yes.
wanted to, because I'm big on validations, right?
Yes.
So I just wanted to validate Dr. Ron. I am in awe, of you, and I so love and respect and take in all that you've contributed to the show. You're completely, definitely are making me see different insights, and I appreciate that, because as a fellow clinician, I'm a big fan of listening and taking in best practices, and hearing you and you just kind of throwing out these different perspectives is just dynamite. So I validate you, and I look so forward to just getting to know you in this journey, and you kind of remind me of my dad in a lot of respects. So when I hear you, I'm hearing, I hear my dad in a lot of respects. I'm trying not to get emotional, but I validate. I appreciate you.
I thank you so much. And this is, I knew from the first day, I think when I was in New Orleans and I heard you speak, I said, woo, that's the first time I heard, she must know something. But let me say this, as you're saying that, I'm working right now, sending you the text to tell you, I'm going to send you my number. text me your nephew's numbers. I'm going to text them so they can come onto our program and at least listen to some of the other
Wonderful.
fathers. That this is what
Yay.
is really, because if they're having those kind of problems right now, even if they don't have to join, they can just come and listen to the other fathers talk just so they can get their mind right. So I'm just
Agreed.
sending you right now my number. So text me their numbers, and on Wednesday I will text them the links to come on the show if you just let them know that I'm going to do that.
That's
Wonderful. I
what.
definitely will do that.
And
Definitely.
Lakota, I was getting there. I was trying to wait till Tylon started moving again. But thank you, my sister. And he finally did start moving. So I'm gonna grab him so I can let him finish before he stops moving. Go ahead, Tylon.
I really don't know where I left off, but just in a nutshell, it's just about the attack that is happening to the Black community, and the attack is to the Black men because they recognize that Black men are the protectors, the security, the providers, and if they remove that, they know our community will be extremely vulnerable as it is. So I think that if we work on film and narratives and shows like this to kind of push back on that, particularly the issue of the wrongfully convicted. I don't know if you heard that part. That's something that I like to deal with in real time. But I think if we face this and we deal with this as the premier issue, the number one issue, we will transform our community overnight.
All
So I
right.
hope you guys were able to hear that.
We were able to hear that. Thank you, Lakota, for getting us started on the validations. We used to call them shout outs, but she says she don't do that. So validation. So Karis, wait, do you want to give a dad on the panel today some validations and positive vibes?
I would like to give, in particular, Ralph's story. I guess it's just because I have a history of struggling with chronic illness, and my dad has always been very supportive in sharing his journey with illnesses. And so your story about your dad literally saving your life was really, really moving. And I don't know what it's like for men to talk openly about not having peak physical condition. So I would just like to validate you for sharing your story, your father's story, and the beautiful unity that you guys have as a family. That was amazing and was something I had never been in the midst of hearing before. So it really did something for me as a Black woman who heard this. So I would love to validate you for doing something that has never been done in my sight before. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you checked it. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh,
Can I speak about something? Yeah.
she tossed the ball to you, so you were up next if you wanted to give a little story before your validation. But yeah, go ahead and validate another dad on the panel. That's what we're all about. Thank you, Karis.
A few things. Everybody, all the dads out there gave great examples. I think that all y'all dads are great out there. I also want to. I was also wondering, do you want me to go up and sing some of that lyrics to that song I told you about earlier at the
You're
beginning of the
gonna
show?
close out the show, Ralph. We,
And
we we got it all lined up. You're gonna close out the show, so you go ahead and give your validations. And right before we leave, I'm gonna get you to perform that amazing song.
I want to validate my friend, my great friend. He is disabled. He have cerebral palsy, and he have 5 children, and he doesn't let his limitations stop him from being a great father. And I'm looking at his children, and they all are doing well. So I want to validate. His name is Kingsley. I want to validate him on that. So I'm
Well,
sorry.
we don't ever be sorry. Never
Yeah,
over here on
yeah.
Daddies Matter Too. It's all about your opinion, your point of view. We validate him in your honor. Thank you for bringing him into our forum and telling us about him. It is a struggle to be a father, and then to have some extra layers, I'm sure, is extra So thank you for honoring him in our forum. And we validate you, Ralph. So thank you for being here. Next up, we have William Wade. Go ahead and validate of dad on the panel today and let us know.
I want to validate Ron, Dr. Ron, and Tyler for like I'm new to this whole concept, and I'm doing it because of my daughter. But just for the knowledge that I done learned today, just being on this panel, so that's who I want to validate.
Oh, we love it. Shout out to my two favorite dads. Thank you, Tylon, for saving me, and Ron for being there when I was trying to figure it out. So, William, two great choices in my eyes. And we validate you and thank you for showing up. It may be a little scary sometimes, but all you have to do is show up and the world will take care of the rest. And with Tylon around, you're gonna win. I promise. Every day, every time with Tylon around, you're gonna win. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Kathleen Blanco, you're up next. You want to validate a dad on the panel today?
I think she said she wrote in the chat that she couldn't hear, so she may not be able to hear you, Brenda. I think
Okay.
she might be out of the. She wrote that in the chat. She wasn't hearing anything.
Okay, so we'll get to Kathleen later, but I want to validate all you great fathers and mommies and people who don't even have no kids but great fatherhood memories. Thank you for showing up to Daddies Matter Too, to get the information, the support, the other person that you may need to take your fatherhood plan to the next level, whatever that level may be. Ralph Williams, I'm going to have you perform us out. So give me 2 more seconds to thank Kathleen Blanco for your beautiful words, even though she can't hear me, everybody else can. And Tylon will edit that in. Thank you, William Wade, for you and bringing your beautiful daughter. So thank you so much for that,
Yeah.
Karis.
Can
Thank you for coming.
So
Thank you for having us. This has been amazing.
Thank
Perfect way to
you.
end a Sunday.
Oh my.
Did I get a valid? I didn't get to give anybody a validation.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm
Jesus
sorry,
Christ!
Ron.
I know. You got me on here as the expert to talk about stuff, but I want to validate people
You
too.
want to validate people? See, that's the beauty of this show. Go ahead, Ron. We
So,
got 2 minutes.
So well, one of the biggest validations I want to give is I want to give first a validation to the Waits for being here and showing us what this relationship of father and daughter really means. That is important, and they came here, and by being here, it shows people when they see this that they too can, go and have a relationship. And they also talked about how they do it. So thank you, and I validate you for that. And I think that's the next story, that even with Ralph, the validation that we don't hear. He said it wasn't that his mom didn't do it, but he wouldn't have survived without his dad. And we don't hear that enough. We don't hear the idea of the what dads really bring to our lives to make us keep going. We're so in guess with this. Well, what did he pay for? What did he provide? Well, he provided the nurturing that he needed to get through his health issue, and that's powerful. And then, as always, I just want to validate my friend for being here, and he's on the road, and he's doing one of my favorite numbers of in the car, and we can't hear everything he's saying, but without, I'm so glad that she was able to do this tonight, the daytime line, and thank you. And as always, Brenda, without you, we wouldn't have this whole get down. We was away for a while, but I'm glad you brought it back. And now that we back, we going stronger than ever. So thank you, and I validate you. So everybody.
Aw, I love it. I love being here. So Ron, no problem. Tylon, uh, you are the best co-host ever. I don't even know how you set it up and started way over there where you at. You're not even in front of a laptop, so I still have so much more to learn. We have come to the end of another amazing episode of Daddies Matter Too. And I validate you all, whether you listened, whether you chimed in, whether you take the advice or you don't. You have definitely created a legacy, a digital dynasty for the next generation to be able to look into when they are up and coming. So with that being said, Ralph, would you do us the honors and get us out of here? And everybody will be here next Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and all of that other stuff. Ralph, take it away.
All right, thank you. I haven't made the beat yet, but I'll just do the second verse of the song, and in about a month or so, I'll have the music video and the whole thing set up, and so this is how it goes. I never heard you complain. You just keep going through life, constantly attacked, you leaving you in a lot of pain. When you heard about my diagnosis, you never gave up. You just gave God the battle. You gave him trust. Over time, you had to take care of me and for my brothers. You had good quantity, but the care for us had good quality. Because all you did for me, I'll call you the greatest dad officially. I always took me to doctor's appointments. My disease slowly worsened. You kept my spirits high. When I thought I was going to die, you always gave me the energy to fight. And then the hook goes like this. You're my daddy. You wanted to take care of me so badly. You took great responsibility. You took it seriously. I believe you're the greatest dad in history. You exceeded God's expectations. You dealt hard cards. But because of your great every day, that we should have Father's Day celebration.
Y'all give it up for Ralph Williams sharing his talent with us today. I love it. Thank you guys so much for showing up. And we are out of here. And because the controls are with me, if Tylon will allow me, you guys can stay a little bit past to collect the information and talk to one another so we can all link up. Join us again here on Daddies Matter Too, where we're not anti-mom, we're just pro-dad, looking out for fatherhood all around. And we are out here. All right.